close pretty quickly, so we should be having 2 very exciting races here.
Oh yeah, this will be a lot of fun tonight. Any predictions on the favorites?
On the Revenge React one, it's hard to say, although I think that on Scotty vs. Exploud, I think a lot of folks are going to be favoring Scotty on that one, I think.
Yep, and then Scotty, he likes to go for a lot of crazy strats, so that may hurt or help him a lot. So, we'll see.
Yeah, that's the thing about Scotty. He goes for crazy strats, but he can actually execute those crazy strats, so as whether or not it's going to happen this time, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yep, just can't quite get 100% perfect execution every single time, though. Alright, so everybody's favorite trick of the game causes 99% of all the resets. We call it the climb. Series of really tight wall jumps. TG Revenge opting to take a little bit safe. Can't blame him on that one. It takes a lot of work and practice just to get it your very first time.
Yeah, it's actually probably one of the hardest bits of movement in the entire run, and it happens right there at the beginning. Right now we see both pairs pretty close to each other. Revenge and React pretty much sinking through door transitions, and Scotty and Exploud right on top of each other as well in the same room so far. I also believe all 4 of them are playing on English as well. At least Scotty and Exploud are. I'm not sure about Revenge and React. I must admit I missed it.
Looks pretty English to me.
Okay, good.
Yep, so the main difference between English and the other common version is Japanese. Is mainly RTA. The in-gaming timer, which we use on the leaderboards, are all exactly the same. There is actually a minor difference in Japanese that causes Japanese to be a little bit slower in-game, by like half a second. That's just kind of to prevent us from doing a cheat method for something else that's later on.
Yep, but despite a lot of folks will still opt to do the Japanese version because it saves you 3 minutes, well, a little bit under, but about 3 minutes of RTA. So if you're going to be doing a lot of run attempts, it saves you some real time. Although again, if you're just going for the leaderboards, either version is equally viable because if you're not controlling Samus, that in-game timer is not running.
Okay, so like 90% of this run is you have a computer that tells you, it's like, hey, go here, go here, go here. So right now we're just kind of trying to gather some quick items so we can fight the first boss of the game.
That's right, because as you can see right now, we got a peach shooter, and we can't even turn into a ball yet. So they're on their way to get the missiles, a very useful, very important power-up. Not just because, obviously, missiles and Metroid kind of walk hand in hand, but also just because the core X's that they'll be fighting throughout the game can only be damaged by missiles, so they're definitely important.
Yep, and then this is also one of the few Metroid games where you don't start off where Morph Ball is not the first item you get.
Yeah, but that's not to say we're not going to be getting it very quickly, because with missiles in hand, they're all going to be heading on their way to fight the first boss, Arachnus. A little bit of a Metroid 2 throwback. And in Metroid 2, it gives you the Spring Ball, but in this game, we don't have the Spring Ball yet, so it gives you the next best thing, the ability to morph.
Morphing is so fun. Okay, just bear with us a little bit as we are sailing through some technical difficulties. Okay, I see Arachnus, so along the way here, we've got a couple of missile packs. Both are very much needed for this boss. Takes 50 missiles to knock him into the Core X phase. And then we need 3 missiles for this core. They're going to try to stack some some missiles on top of each other in order to try to minimize the invulnerability time, the total invulnerability from the core. And then that just lets us, for this one, it's like because you have to wait like 3 seconds after each hit. So every time we can stack 2 missiles on top to do some extra damage, that's just one cycle of waiting we don't have to do.
That's right, and it actually becomes even more important as the game continues, because this one only took 3 missiles. Later on, you're going to have cores that take 6 missiles. So you're cutting the number of the cycles you have to wait in half. That's almost 10 seconds you save by getting triple doubles. Looks like all 4 of them have gotten the ability to morph. Arrakis is defeated, and they're on their way down to the sectors.
So, in this little transition period, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about movement in this game. So, the runners, they're going to want to stay on the ground as much as possible. Because whenever Samus is in the air, she moves about half her speed. Not quite half the speed, but a bit slower. So, we got to minimize time on the ground, try to make jumps as tight as possible, and try to jump as late as possible to maximize that extra speed. Okay, I see ExploudYourEar's going for one of the viable missiles for the start. See it on React as well. So missile routing, we want our goal max missile is 40 or 45 max. This lets us get through, and it's designed around 3 bosses in particular, so we can maximize damage output. You saw Scotty skip that one missile. It's actually, that particular missile's a little bit slower, about a second slower than the rest. However, that makes the very first sector a lot more consistent. The general strategy is don't get hit. And that's because whenever you're lacking just one thing, whenever you can kill an enemy, the X is going to drop the yellow or green. If you're full in one, it's going to guarantee drop the other.
That's right. The Sector 1 missile management is extremely important, like JC said. The M25 missiles make Sector 1 a little bit more of a breathe easy moment, otherwise you're very tight, and keeping your health full is all you're trying to do, but it's very easy to accidentally get knocked around by the hordes of flying enemies here, so with any luck, we're going to be able to four of them just go through Sector 1 cleanly, their missile cannon high. Not only that, but the atmospheric stabilizers you're about to see Scotty take on here, you cannot damage them with your pea shooter. Sure, people do the job, they don't have that yet, so they're just going to have to make sure that they use missiles only when necessary. Oops, I'm trying to do the fastest track in the room, unfortunately getting around a bit. We're having a little bit of trouble with Discord here.
Hey, there we go.
So far, everyone seems to be going through pretty well. Everyone's taken some minimal damage, but they've been going through pretty effectively, making full use of their missiles to keep running, and like we mentioned before, jump as little as possible, because if you can use a missile to keep running instead of having to jump over an enemy, you'll do it. It saves you time.
Yep, and then right now everybody has pretty healthy missile counts, and then being less than 20 off full max health energy, it'll make getting missiles fairly easy.
Yeah, Scotty passing through the last major challenge room in Sector 1.
That pirate.
Was so happy to see him and jump across the room to hug him. Oop, Exploud having a couple of missiles tink there, because those atmospheric stabilizers move up and down a little bit, and that's a little bit of RNG. If they're not out of position, you just kind of got to wait a couple seconds while they get back into position, or you're going to start tinking missiles. And again, missile count's very important at this point.
Nice reaction from Xplod just to get rid of them. Yep, and another tiny thing that's RNG in those rooms as well. It's like, it's actually RNG how long after the stabilizer is destroyed before the rooms unlock.
Yeah, that's a pretty small variation usually. I think it's no more than a second or two, but
a bit.
You want
it adds up.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
Ooh, that's a nice double shreddy shrine.
Interesting. Scotty, as usual, trying strats that none of us are prepared for.
Then I didn't see how he started it. I think he was another runner that likes to do the horizontal doubles to start off the fight.
I think you're right. I think I've heard him talk about them, but I don't think I've actually seen him do them in a run. So
yeah, for anyone learning this game, I recommend learning I-door doubles as soon as you can. It makes this fight a lot more consistent, in my opinion. And pretty good fights from everyone. Oh no. So Xploud just kind of... He released a little bit too late, so the bottom part of his beam didn't hit the core of the stabilizer. So a really key part when it comes to mechanics is the beam itself. So whenever you see somebody, especially like when they hit either like a wall or half the beam hits the wall, you see it split off into two different parts. Each part does a set amount of damage. And a lot of stress depend on you getting both parts to hit. And then if you pay real close attention to it whenever somebody releases a charged beam, you see this little flare right in front of Samus's cannon. This actually does damage. In the beginning parts of the game, it does 6 damage, and it's pretty important.
Yeah, that flare the charge beam's properties make it one of the most powerful weapons in the game because you look at the 10 damage from each of the two halves of the beam with the 6 damage from the flare. Hitting the enemy with the beam and the flare does 26 damage, which at this point with basic missiles is only a little bit less than 3 missiles in a fraction of the time. So making good use of the charge beam can speed things up substantially in this early part of the game. Both here and then coming up a little bit later in Sector 4.
Yep, and then another thing that's really nice about that thing. So this idol that we killed going into charge beam, this is the last time that we ever have to take 3 shots at a door.
That's right, because again, I think the I-beams have I-doors. I think have 25 health. So both shots in the flare, 26 damage, kills a door instead of 3 missiles. You take that because the maximum possible 4 beams versus 12 beams. You will absolutely take that every time.
Yeah. Reaction Xplod pretty synced. Scotty's getting ready to start Sector 2. This is the sector that shows you just how dangerous fusion can be. You see these little red slugs kind of crawling around. They're called Zoros, by the way. They do 45 damage to you. And that is pretty massive for a non-boss enemy in most other Metroid games.
Yes, indeed, and especially this early on where they have the base suit and only 1 E-tank. There's a lot of Zoros around, and if you start bonking into them, you can very easily die in Sector 2. And this sector is very deadly in any category, even 100%, where you wind up with a lot of health at the end.
Yeah, but then also keep in mind, we're still trying to keep ourselves from not jumping too often and keep ourselves on the ground. There's a really tight thing that Scotty's going to be trying to do. So he's going to kill this first one with a beam and then shoot 2 missiles pretty fast so they both hit the Zoro without having to stop. And it's pretty tight. Every time you jump over an enemy or you take a damage, you're basically losing a second. So you might see some of the runners take it a little bit safe just to preserve health.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to in this part of Sector 2. How safe are you willing to be? Are you willing to pay the time cost? And seeing React there actually opt to jump over one of the Zoros because that double missile, that shooting the 2 missiles to hit the Zoro is surprisingly tight timing, especially if it's running towards you. Unfortunately, Revenge killed the Zoro earlier on, so it reformed on that upper wall, which is why you actually don't want to kill any of the Zoros before that one on the far bottom. Otherwise, it makes it harder to climb quickly.
Yep, you'll see that in playing at least one other room later on in the game where, so sometimes you actually can't collect it, it just becomes another enemy, or if you don't collect it fast enough, it becomes an enemy. The place where it's going to spawn an enemy is always the same, depending on if it's the first enemy you kill in the room, the second enemy, and so forth.
Yeah, you find that in some cases you can actually manipulate enemy patterns, but in most cases it's just a matter of learning all the possible places enemies can be and having ways of learning the ways to react to all of them.
It's like, fortunately, that just means for most enemies, there's only 2 different patterns you're gonna see, and then after that just becomes your timing to get through a room. Most enemies, there's very few enemies that wait till they're on screen to move. Most of them are set and starting to move as soon as the room loads. So this room that React and Explode are about to run into, as long as you do the first part efficiently, you should never see a Zora in the tunnel.
Which is pretty important because you are trying to conserve health. Because even things like those little pancakes in the room Scotty's in, those do 35 damage. So even minor enemies do a hefty chunk of damage this early on.
In later parts of the game, you'll see that minor enemies are doing more damage than bosses, too.
Oh yeah. There are some enemies later that are extremely deadly, doing in excess of an energy tank of damage.
Okay, no ouch missile for Scotty. Taking a little bit safe.
Yes, Scotty tells me he prefers to run with 4 E-tanks because it's not a huge time loss and he likes having security.
Yeah, it's only like 2 seconds lost for that E-tank, 2 or 3 seconds. Compared to losing your entire run up to the point you die.
Speaking of losing time, let's see how Zazabi treats him. Starting off with 0 jumps from the get-go, this boss is one of the nastiest RNG bosses the entire run. It can jump anywhere from 3 to 12 extra times before it reveals its weak spot over the course of the fight. And you want to jump close to 3, but sometimes it just gives you double digits and you just have to take it.
It's part of the run. Very important that for the first 3 phases you actually only need to hit it with the charge beam, but you have to have both parts to connect. Unfortunately, Scotty, ooh, nice sweet spot with that double. But anyways, a little bit more about fighting the core. So there's really not much RNG in them, other than their drops. Oh no, Explode, no. Kind of teamed both missiles right there, but you kind of lure them. They have a set pattern. It moves in a loose arc in a way to chase you. So you can manipulate the pattern on where it's going to be going, and you want to. Okay, Scotty, don't do that.
Scotty, why?
Okay, but anyway, you can manipulate where it's going to be going, so you can try to set up to try to have it just walk into or float into 2 missiles, and then you want to try to kill it like on the exact pixel where it's going to be spawning that ability. So you notice like when Scotty killed that core, he just grabbed it instantly, and then when Explode just killed Zazabi right there and got the core, it floated around for just a little bit. If you have the exact X and Y pixel when you kill it, it becomes instantly available. But if it's off by a single pixel for whatever, the game just makes you wait. So timing things so things die at the right spot is pretty important as well.
Yeah, that's the trick we referred to as sweet spot, and even if you don't get it quite right, it's better to having it be close to where it spawns will save you a little bit of time. So you're going to see them all trying to get, well, assuming they know the timing, is to go for double missiles and sweet spots whenever possible, because it can save you in excess of 10 seconds, especially later on per Core X fight.
Yep, and then it does get a little bit harder to do this the later you go on the run. We'll talk more about that in a little bit.
Oh, man, we have Explode, React, and Revenge. We're all in the same room there for a minute, so everyone's staying pretty close here. Scotty is playing exceptionally well, though. He is just running away right now. And interesting to note, though, you see React running up the left side of the room there, and you see Exploud running up the right side. This room actually has two paths you can take. Interestingly, the task actually goes up the right and bombs the wall, but the thing is, that's only faster if you're perfect with your jumps and your bomb timings. Otherwise, running up the left side tends to be on average half a second faster. So you'll see folks do both, but it really comes down to how good is your timing and how saucy you're feeling. Yeah, this game tends, on a whole, to be relatively linear. I mean, the event system and talking to the computer ensures you can only go from point A to point B, and the game tells you what point B is. But that doesn't mean you can't explore alternate movement through rooms, depending on what you can do and what you know. So, you're going to see a lot of the same you're going to tend to see a lot of the same movement, but you're also going to, in some cases, probably going to see some folks try things that are a little bit different.
Yeah,
We see it.
Yes, like sometimes they'll just do things just to make it a little safer, or some things are just a little bit, tiny bit more optimal. Because the difference between a lot of the different strats is less than a second. So there's not really a ton of difference between the different strats. But, yeah.
Yeah, but at the moment, everyone's going to be moving through Sector 4. I think this is probably the sector where where movement starts getting a bit more complex. There's a lot more running, jumping, climbing, killing enemies while moving, and trying to do it without stopping in order to just maintain optimal speed. And also a boss that, if it goes wrong, can just ruin your mood, ruin your time, and just ruin your afternoon.
Indeed. And then, rule number 1, once you get charge beam, is always be charging. As long as you keep things charged and ready to go, you can handle most enemies pretty well without stopping.
And that music means it's time for Ceres.
Yep, just a giant snakes. Lets you go run at super speed. I wonder what ability we're gonna get from this guy.
I haven't the foggiest, but
Scotty. Ooh, that was a risky one. He almost had it too. He was just a few pixels off.
Yep, unfortunately, it looks like he didn't hit it with the flare, so which means that it's going to take 3 cycles instead of the optimal 2-cycle Ceres fight. Oh gosh, 4-cycle.
I think the second shot missed a beam, and then I think he only hit with the flare on this other one. Oh,
5-cycle. Oh my goodness. 5-cycle is... The only way you can get worse than 5 cycles is if you're actually actively trying to miss part of your beam, so that's very unfortunate.
You would have to do... You would somehow get flare only.
Yeah, there we go. That was it.
Which is possible.
But he gets the first double. This one takes 5 missiles, gets the second double. So if you can get the sweet spot here...
Oh, just a touch too early. It happened. This is one of the trickier bosses to get the sweet spot on.
Yeah, Ceres is definitely one of the more challenging bosses to learn when you're first learning this game because of its fast movement and just trying to get used to where it's going to be so you can hit it with the 2-cycle. But that's definitely going to give Exploud some time to catch up where you can have a clean one, especially if you can get the 2-cycle and then the optimal double-double on the core.
Yep, and then ideally on Ceres, you can predict what Ceres is going to do next if it does 1 out of 4 movements.
Oh gosh, Exploud getting some bad movement from Ceres here.
Yes, like whenever you see Ceres do these mid-sized hops where it just kind of goes from one side and just kind of swings over to the other, it's always going to be random what's going to happen right after that. If you ever see Ceres weave through the platforms or go straight across, you'll know exactly where Ceres is going to be next. That was a nice kill from React. Kind of like that little damage boost to the missile that gave him that vertical sweet spot.
Yes, indeed. And it looks like with that, everybody has finished with Ceres. And unfortunately, looks like Revenge did not manage to get the setup for the low height Shine Spark in this room, so he's gonna have to use the intended strat.
Yeah, it's like you have like a 3-frame window to get the AA in or something like that. It's pretty tight.
Yeah, I think pretty much everyone does this. They just mash the A button, and when they see Samus do the wind-up animation for the Shine Spark, hold left. But it's you have to mash the button pretty quick, and I know there's a couple of folks who have a little bit of trouble mashing it fast enough. Yeah, Revenge, React, and Explode are all pretty close to each other. Scotty is...
Yeah, they keep trying trading places. Revenge was actually the last person into the Ceres fight, and he came out ahead. Missed the little movement that happened between then.
Oh, Revenge did not get his shine chart, so he's going to have to go down here and grab this extra missile tank, which means we're probably going to see him skip a missile tank later. Probably one in Sector 6, maybe one at the elevator. We'll see. Depends on what he wants to do with missiles.
Yeah, it's like every max missile that you grab up into 50 max will always save at least a little bit of time. Up until 35, we're going to save time on 3 bosses, and then the 40th and 45th max missile only saves time on 1 boss.
Yes, I do believe that the TAS actually gets only 35, but then again, that's the TAS. Nowadays, you're starting to see an increasing number of folks go for 45. I think some of the older runners will still opt for 40, depending on their comfort level.
Yes, like the time difference between optimally between 40 and 45 is less than a tenth of a second. When I did some number crunching a while back.
That's a lot smaller than I thought it was.
Yeah, but the way I see it, that's also less time you have to. That's an extra opportunity to kind of fudge up the movement a little bit.
It's true. But looks like Scotty is opening the green security doors and everyone else is right behind. Sector 3 are going to be seeing right from the get-go. Everyone start to make use of that speed booster we picked up, because it lets you do shine sparking, which is an extremely useful trick. We're going to be using it frequently. And being able to run and break through blocks with your face is always fun. The thing about shine sparking, though, is shine sparking moves at the same speed as running, but it also has a wind up and a bonk animation. So even though you might think it's quick to shine spark wherever possible, it's only useful in rooms that are taller or wider than a certain amount. Otherwise, at that point, the wind up and the bonk will actually lose you time versus just running through it.
Oh yeah, sometimes it's better just to jump out of it than to spark.
Yes. All of them on their way to pick up the best missile power-up, the super missiles.
The data spark missiles.
I don't know if Scotty got the timing for it. I think he may have crouched a bit early.
I think so as well. You have a really easy... There we go. And he got the shot. Perfect.
And he proved me wrong.
Actually, using the method that Jagger G introduced me to on that one, it used to be believed to be a little bit tighter than it actually is. You just have to pay attention to whenever the text box goes away.
What was that strat that Scotty just did?
I'm gonna have to steal that.
What?
I'm gonna have to steal that strat. That's pretty cool. Oh no, you sparked a little bit too high. Oh yeah, another nice thing about Siren Spark is it does destroy bomb blocks.
Yeah, Speed Booster and Shine Sparking was already useful in Super. It's even more useful in this game. It also does not drain health to Shine Spark, which is so incredibly handy.
Okay, so what Scotty did on that one, so he took some intentional damage. Your iframes last long enough for him to get another 3 or 4 missiles in. Or actually 3 missiles. He did like a double down. Use iframes to stay in it to keep shooting. That also explains why he gets that 4th E-Tank as well, because he wouldn't have survived that with 1 E-Tank.
Most definitely not.
And then that saves a lot of time for having, because the an optimal fight on for React or Explode, if they killed Nox right there, it's like you can visually see just much longer it takes for a box to make it to that position where he jumps up.
Yeah, the box fight, box has a very specific range of things it does depending on where you are relative to it. So if you know that, you can actually make it hop around in very specific spots and kill it as far right as possible. But if anything goes wrong, if your missiles tink, which is easy to do because its weak spot is actually kind of down and in, then you can lose time because it walks very slowly over to its jump out point. Gosh, I'm a little bit bitter at Scotty now. He was in my chat watching me struggle try to get better at box last night. He didn't say anything about this fast strat he was sitting on.
No, he probably would have described it as like, yeah, you gotta take damage, and you've probably been like, nope, not doing it. But yeah, because that also puts you in a pretty tight position on health. Like, you're gonna be guaranteed less than 100 health every single time.
True enough, but then again, we're also coming up on a part of Sector 6, which is the one of the energy tanks that everybody grabs, because it literally loses you 0 time to grab it.
Yeah, but you got some side hoppers that can wreck your day. Blue X, there's typically only one that can actually troll you in the sector. Or if you manage to jump out of right after the recharge station a little bit too early, or just miss the jump in general, you could run into, I think they're called bulls technically in the game, the little floating eyeball bat thingies.
Oh, those things, yeah.
They do quite a bit of damage. I've actually died quite a few times to those back in my early days.
Yeah, it's until you start getting the armor power-ups, enemies just knock you around like you're like some sort of Samus-shaped pinata.
Yep, and then I know Scotty does a crazy-looking stack skip here.
He does. It's very cool, but it's a little bit faster than the strat everyone else does, but it also has I guess it's riskier, but it's consistent. I've never seen him miss it. It's ridiculous.
And then we still have our other 3 runners within about a minute of each other.
Everybody's in Sector 6 now. And, ooh, Revenge actually knows coming into Sector 6 with exactly 3 missiles. That's the magic number. If you don't have 3 missiles entering Sector 6, that barrier that you just saw Explode go through right there, you cannot destroy it. It takes 3 super missiles. So if you don't have 3 missiles, you're going to have to either pick up this missile tank early that you bomb the wall for, or maybe just opt to Shine Spark. You can actually get a Shine Charge and Shine Spark horizontally through that. So... oh
no, Scotty messed up the start of this fight.
Oh goodness. Giant Corax just can be a little bit difficult to keep under control sometimes. Ideally you keep it on the left side of the screen, but got away from Scotty. Looks like he's doing a pretty good job on the core here. Only gotten 1 double. We might can finish it here with a good... there we go.
Pretty nice fight. Okay, and then we're going to see Reacting Spot do a little bit more sane ways of handling this Sax encounter.
Yeah, the game actually intends for you to wait for the Sax to walk down and over, but the Sax is very slow. It's very leisurely. So instead we just basically poke it with a stick, and when it jumps over us, we're going to run past it.
Yep, and then the most important part in this strat, on the safe one, is you have to make sure Sax walks at least 2 steps. Or, because if you do it any sooner than that, Sax is going to do a diagonal down shot, and it's going to freeze you, and you'll have just a few frames to escape a death.
Yes, because at this early point in the game, since you don't have until you get the Various suit, the Sax's Ice Beam will freeze you, and then it'll hit you with a Super Missile, and that, at this point, early in the game, that just almost outright kills you.
Yeah, having Various suit actually makes Sax encounter a lot more dangerous than not having it, because whenever somebody can be frozen, your energy or HP will never go below 0 or never go below 1 without freezing you first. Nice store from Scotty. Pretty nice kill from Exploud. I didn't count how many doubles React got.
Yeah, it seems React having a little bit of trouble with doubles there, because that's the thing that JC mentioned earlier. Now that we have super missiles, double missiles are actually more difficult to do, because every missile power-up does make your missiles hit harder, but it also makes them fly faster, and there's a longer cooldown between shots. So the timing for getting double missiles is actually harder to do, and different for each missile upgrade that they get.
Yeah, so basically you need more room. You want to lure the X higher, or you want to start taking some extra damage whenever you're trying to do these doubles. Either like a double down, so you shoot the second missile just before you hit the core.
Oh gosh, Revenge is having some trouble here with the giant Core X. Its movement can be pretty erratic sometimes, so you just have to try to make sure that it's flying, it's coming to where you are, and then you just hit it with the shot and the flare, which is also why you don't see that they're not trying to do a pseudo screw attack. You don't want to be somersaulting here, because hitting it with a pseudo screw attack does less damage than hitting it with the shot and the flare.
That's if you even hit it.
That's exactly right.
He's got some shields this time. That missile on reaction, I decided it wanted to hit a puffer instead of a slug.
Oh, puffers. They're one of the most annoying enemies in Sector 6 because they can appear in a number of different places, and you can't just shoot them and run past them because they spew out that purple gas, which hits you if you try to run past it, so...
Yes, like, most enemies in the game only have 2 different movement RNGs. Puffers have 4. Okay, TG doing a little bit of a backup in case you can't get that little spring ball out. It's a pretty tight window to be able to spring out of those tunnels.
Yes, now we see everyone's heading off to Sector 5. Interesting thing about Sector 5 is that because Samus is part Metroid now, if you go into Sector 5 without the Various suit, the cold actually hurts her. So the Various suit doesn't just help with heated rooms, it also helps with cold rooms. But they're all on their way to get the next missile upgrade, or missile downgrade as I like to refer to it, the ice missiles.
Yeah, so when we got the super missiles, it does more damage than the charge beam, just by a little bit. Ice missile does do more damage, but with that freezing property I was talking about earlier, if an enemy can be frozen, it will always freeze before killing, even if you overkill an enemy according to damage. So we're gonna have to revert back to our weaker charge beam in order to clear some enemies out of the way. And you have some pretty tight timing in order to be able to do nothing but charge beams.
Yes, it actually involves releasing your charge at the correct time while you're climbing up a ledge in order to kill the enemy. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough time to charge and kill the second one. Sector 5 actually also has a little bit of a secret challenge, in the sense that we actually come back to Sector 5 3 separate times. And every time you're going through a lot of the same rooms, so it's one of those things where if you're just kind of autopiloting a bit, it's very easy to accidentally forget which visit it is and maybe go to the data room when you're not supposed to, or a lot of times just forget to go to the data room and just start leaving the sector early. And it sounds like it's silly, it sounds like it doesn't happen, but it's happened to pretty much all of us at least once, and there's no shame in that. It's Sector 5 is just
There's a lot of shame in that. What are you talking about?
I can't believe you're calling me out like this.
It's like you have to shame yourself so you become a little bit better. Over time you start to build up little reminders though, that if you don't notice some X random thing happening, because enemy patterns are slightly shifted depending on which visit you're in. Or you'll see some other random events in the background that don't show up later on.
Or most notably, you might see that on Scotty's screen, everything is flashing red. So on this first visit, you go back to that first vertical shaft, and the screen isn't flashing red. You forgot ice missiles.
Yeah. Or if you in that big room before that as well, where you're climbing up all the way up and then back down that giant little loop that you have to go through in that one room. If you don't see Nightmare, it's not you actually. If you consciously or if you subconsciously remember that Nightmare is supposed to be in the background there, that's also another indicator right there.
Yes, indeed.
Alright, so everybody's favorite time, it is spam emergency and Fricker Z time. You may do that for the next few minutes. After that, no good. Goal time for Scotty is to have the countdown timer stop before it hits 4:30. Requires some pretty tight movement, a little bit of cooperation on the RNG side.
It also requires him to get 2 double missiles on the core, which is a beam core, so the doubles are a little bit tighter. You have to get the very specific setup, otherwise it's just not going to work.
Yep, and then this emergency thing is also pretty missile intense. So in this first trip in Sector 5, you actually want to be pretty careful with your health. Oh.
Scotty unfortunately accidentally shooting the block near the stretchy, which is going to cost him several seconds.
Yeah, and then it's going to cost some extra time that you wouldn't actually think about, because that does mess up that stretchy cycle a little bit. And then that's a nice frozen property with ice. Sometimes objects just don't exist when you spin jump through them.
Yeah, so unfortunately he would normally want to be going through the door by now, but he thankfully gets 0 beams, so he still makes a 441 door time, which is still respectable. He can still get I think he can actually still get get around a 430 if he gets doubles here. Oh, I was wrong. He's going to be a high 425, I think. Oh, he misses a double, though. He gets the sweet spot. It's going to be a 424, I would say.
Yeah, it's a little under 2 seconds from the time you let go of that dialog box into deactivating the timer.
So 424 is a very respectable time, so let's see if Exploud can gain some seconds back here and have a good emergency.
Oh yeah.
Meanwhile, React is also in emergency, and Revenge is starting emergency, so...
So much red.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you just joining us, this is actually 2 1v1s, so we were talking about it as one big race, but it's actually React versus Revenge and Scotty versus Exploud, so at the moment, React is a little bit ahead of Revenge, and Scotty is a bit ahead of Exploud, but there's still plenty of race left, so things can still change.
Plenty of race, as well as not handling some RNGs well can make a pretty big difference. This is, and then I'll make another mention of this later on, but just traveling the sectors can be a lot more dangerous than some of the scary bosses.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Bosses can kill you, but so can everything else. Enemies and Fusion is a surprisingly unforgiving category. If you start just having trouble and getting knocked around a lot, that's all it takes to put you in at the risk of death from anything.
Yeah, or you can be crazy like some individuals in the community that like to grab 0 extra missiles and 0 extra E-tanks.
Oh, those 0% folks are much braver souls than I tell you what. Exploud getting that double-double, though, which means he's going to get himself a 427.
Saving himself a couple seconds on Scotty.
It's a very solid emergency.
I think React got 1 double on that.
Gonna get himself a 414, a high 414. And Revenge, unfortunately, having a little bit of trouble getting moving through this emergency quickly. He's still doing all right. But you see in a couple spots he's stopping to line up his shots, which is fair, because in emergency, if you fall, you tend to fall into lava or into very painful enemies. So better take a little bit of extra time to make sure your movement is sure, than to lose a lot of time.
Yeah, those purple stretches, they do like 80 damage.
Oh, God, he's getting trolled by the side hoppers in that room. Still, 434 door time is not too shabby.
Yeah, pretty good.
All right, we have Exploud doing the escape from Sector 3, React doing a little bit behind him, and we have Scotty doing what Super Metroid runners won't, and save the animals. But he's not. Oh, he's going for the. Interesting. That's a variation on the on impossible strat.
It's not impossible. It's called the stretchy climb. Don't know who started calling it the impossible strat when it's very oh no.
Well, impossible strat actually does does like a weird wall jump above the first stretch he does, so it like wall jumps above both of them before coming back. So it's not quite the impossible strat, at least not by my understanding.
No.
Exploud and React in the same dialogue at the navigation room. And React now also on his way out of Sector 3. So everyone's staying kind of within firing range of each other here.
Oh yeah, very nice thing to see.
Alright, though, it looks like Scotty's going to be on his way back down to Sector 5 to grab the loud bombs.
Yeah, we kind of forgot to grab them the first time through.
Can't be helped, the Galactic Federation is taking forever to upload its torrents.
Yeah, they use dial-up connection to send us items.
And even the future ISPs are slow.
It's unfortunate.
Interesting note, just as you see like React climbing up through that vertical shaft, we talked about earlier about the importance of jumping being slower than running. But the other thing about jumping is, if you're doing vertical climbs, you want to jump no higher than you have to, because if you're over jumping, which is to say jumping then having to come back down, that ends up being several frames slower than jumping and landing immediately. So you'll see folks like you'll probably see Scotty and Exploud doing it a lot, where they jump and they shoot right before they land, or they jump and they land immediately. That saves you a few frames per jump, and over the course of a run, it adds up to more time saved than you think. I can't give you an exact number, but we'll definitely see them. Definitely leads to faster movement.
Much definitely. No, React is having a little bit of issue with these stretchies. There we go. Yeah, sometimes it's really hard to kind of figure out what you need to do if whenever you feel the main string, you have no idea how to back it up. Another big thing that'll save a lot of time is having your hands know how to react to something going wrong, and not have that little hard break whenever you need to figure out what's going on again.
No, yeah, it's absolutely true. Because Samus has a lot of movement tools, and being able to use them outside of the common strats, just using them whenever to react to things, and also just having good game knowledge outside of what you know about, again, outside of recommended strats, just makes it easier for you to react to things going wrong, winding up falling where you shouldn't, just knowing how to come back from things that you weren't expecting.
Alright, time for another sex escape. Let's see if Scotty beats the beam to the door.
He
Easy
certainly
peasy.
does. Gotta be careful there, though, because even with the various suit, that ice beam will do over 200 damage if it hits you.
Yeah, that can pretty much wreck you.
And I think Scotty... Oh, interesting. Scotty does not do a Doom Strat here.
I think he was trying to do some other modification of it.
That wouldn't surprise me. He probably had some sort of wacky strat that none of us have ever seen before, but is somehow faster.
Yeah, the Kadoom strat only saves like quarter a second, unfortunately. So it's pretty cool whenever you see it done, but
yeah, it's very much a strat that earns you a lot more swag than it saves you time, but it is faster.
Still saves time a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah.
See the shots on chat toward Scotty. Play nice, guys.
Alright, but we only have Exploud setting up here for the first of the Sector 5 Shine Sparks, getting it. Taking advantage of a couple of properties where if you have a charged shot going through a door and you let go of the button while it's transitioning, you will always fire it on the first frame. So you jump through the door with a charge, let go of the button, start mashing jump, you will release the shot and go into your Shine Spark animation immediately, which gives you just barely enough time to Shine Spark through that next door into the big room.
Yeah, you have like less than 5 frames of window for that. And then another property on that one, we haven't really mentioned it much, but whenever you're spinning, if you ever shoot something with the B button or with missiles, that changes Samus's falling velocity from whatever it is to 0, and then she has to regain that falling speed again. Once you have missiles and you have some extra, you can Xcloud, make it out, please.
Okay. We got it. He's good.
Anyways, you can also fire a fully charged beam using the R button to load your missiles. If you fire your charge shot that way, Xcloud's going for that. Anyway, if you
got blocked by the X.
That X. But if you fire a shot with using the R button, Samus will not break out of her spin, so you can keep that falling speed going.
Yes, R shooting it's called. It's very useful, especially later on when you get the space jump, because you can actually speed boost, then space jump while speed boosting, which you call space boosting. And when you're space boosting, you can open doors and take the space boost into the next room using R shooting, which is extremely useful in 100%. And you might actually see it in a couple of spots later on here in 90% as well. But even that other property JC mentioned, the one about losing your vertical speed when you shoot to pop out of a somersault, is very useful. If you're trying to make a long jump and you wouldn't quite make it, you can actually shoot to give yourself a little bit more horizontal distance, and that's why we call that a jump extend. You can use it to reach ledges that you normally wouldn't be able to grab. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's not developer intended, but it's just a handy thing. Scotty getting exceedingly good luck on Yakuza here. Putting it into phase 2 extremely quickly. Playing a little bit faster loose with missiles, having the extra tank allows you to do that, and already onto the core. Fortunately, again, double missile timing is harder now because of the ice missiles. So he has only gotten one double so far.
In a nice sweet spot.
Yeah, that's Yakuza, a much hated boss casually and also for folks starting to learn the run. There's a fair bit of RNG involved in its whether or not it opens its mouth and its second phase of bouncing around.
Yes, at the second phase, it takes a lot more reading than anything else. First phase, you can at least know where Yakuza's gonna stop every time he moves.
Yeah, so you can set up for it. But the second phase, it can move fast, and it's just going to, it can just move any which way. So you just have to react. Oh goodness, Scotty having a little bit of trouble getting through these vines here.
Yeah, trying to do that without losing too much time from trying to get the jump going up again and not lose much time is quite tricky. Time for the final Sax encounter of the game. Well, the final Sax escape or chase of the game.
Yeah. Which was the nightmare of, I'm sure, many young Metroid players. Because that's the one you can't actually wait. And what is...
He's trying to do the... He's trying to clip into the wall and try to skip a few rooms.
Scotty! Oh my gosh, I don't think I've ever seen that before.
Oh, it's known. Except it's pixel perfect, frame perfect, in order to get through into the wall like that. So it's hardly, and it actually only works on the English version. It does not work in Japanese. The developer somehow found out what causes that kind of thing, so Japanese doesn't work. It doesn't work on the Japanese version, which was why whenever you see a 0% run, it's always going to be 0 on English, because clips don't work.
Interestingly enough, Metroid Fusion is one of those rare cases where the English version came out first instead of the Japanese version coming out first.
Yep. And then after that came the IQ version.
Ah, yes, the IQ version. Looks like you got a couple of doubles there.
Okay, just like that, Exploud and Reactor are pretty synced up again.
Yeah. Oh gosh, Exploud having some trouble hitting Yakuza here, though. Just a lot of missed missiles.
Oh, and saw Yakuza just spin right before the missile connected.
Yeah, the difficult thing about this part is Yakuza can hit you and does a fair bit of damage if it hits you, and it's also spitting out these trash bits.
Oh yeah, he's also sitting at exactly 100 energy right now.
Oh, he's out of missiles too, so you're gonna be losing a little bit of time here. So hopefully you can still... I think you might prioritize not body slamming the X core over hitting it here. We'll see. Oh, he missed both of his missiles. Oof.
Just survive. Surviving is faster than dying.
Most certainly. Because I must admit, I didn't actually check and see, but I don't think anyone took the safety save at the ship.
Not that I noticed, but it doesn't exactly take much time to save.
Yeah, that's the fastest save you can take during a run, because you're already in the ship, so you just lose the time of the dialogue box, which is what, like 2 seconds? So, I mean, obviously it's at everyone's discretion, especially if you're playing a very high level opponent, but I mean, I feel like a lot more folks should probably take that save. But then, that's just my thought.
Yeah, the problem is on English, every time you have a save, you lose your 0-0 file, and in order to get it back, you have to watch a 5-minute cutscene just to play the game.
This is true.
And then some people like to have their other 2 files for practice.
Yeah, I guess that's absolutely true.
So it's uh-oh, React, come on, make it out, there you go.
Ooh.
And that's why it's scary.
Like we said, in this game, regardless of how strong you get, how many power-ups you get, this game can and will always just kill you if it decides to, and you're being careless.
Yeah, so it's... Oh, man.
Exploud, no. Be careful.
Yeah, he froze the Sax a touch too late.
Oh, he's gonna go for the safety strat here, and I honestly not blaming him in the slightest for that. Oh my goodness, meanwhile, Scotty, we almost missed it. He just did the Nightmare Space Boost.
He did the
boost? Go all the way, but yeah, he did the Space Boost. He didn't make it through all the rooms. He landed right about where the Shine Spark would have dropped him, but still, he did it. So
that's time saved by itself.
Yeah. That's an exceedingly difficult trick compared to the Nightmare Shine Spark. And Scotty just went there and did it. It's fine. You know, React facing off against Notori, Explode right behind him, and Revenge about to run from the sacks. Gosh, everyone's just kind of in high-tension situations.
Okay, so React is in pretty dangerous territory. If he gets hit by that plasma, that's going to kill him.
Actually, I think if he runs into the core, it kills him. Okay, no, not anymore. His health is, yeah, he's taking it safe here. Meanwhile, Scotty facing off against Nightmare, a lot of people's least favorite boss. Thankfully, the first two phases are pretty quick, just like that. He's into phase 3.
And then he's going to take some intentional damage here just to get an extra 2 or 3 missiles in. And then from here, he just wants to try to get Nightmare to stop as soon as he can. So Nightmare just kind of chases you around. The major trick I've learned to make Nightmare stop sooner is make sure you don't lure Nightmare off screen.
Yeah, because Nightmare will not stop unless it's completely on screen.
Got the second double. Third. Time to set up the sweet spot.
There you go. Alright, Explode and React on their way out of Sector 2. Scotty now finally having a good-looking suit at last in this game.
The gravity suit, which it does not add any gravity to Samus. She just kind of negates gravity instead.
I'm sure it made sense in some scientist's head.
Anyways, anti-gravity suit.
The go through water fast suit.
Alright, so this section that Scotty's in is absolutely the scariest section in any percent and low percent. The fish hurt by... What? What are you doing, Scotty? Okay.
Oh, is he going to do it for another clip?
This is fun.
Scotty?
Huh.
Scotty?
That's pretty cool.
Scotty, you absolute madman. How does he do this? Every time I steel myself for Scotty just doing something really off the wall, and he still just blows my mind.
I mean, this sort of thing was now. It's like, it's definitely the sort of thing that the test is gonna be doing once it gets remade. But a lot of runners don't bother with it just because you can't do these clips in Japanese, and especially since we're trying to go for a push one day to RTA.
I guess it's a virtual cross when we get there, I suppose. That's that's an ongoing debate.
Yeah, because the thing with these clips is you have a 1-frame window, and you have to have the pixels right. And yeah.
Explode, meanwhile, showing off the Nightmare Shine Spark, which is the strat you will see most folks do, because it is setting it up is a lot simpler, and it's by far faster than just running. Okay, Scotty kindly pointing out that clip he did there in Underwater Sector 4 is actually slower than doing it the intended strat, but he just wanted to show it off a little bit.
Oh yeah. That's what Scotty likes to do. He's definitely the type that whenever he learns a new run, he's going to learn the absolute hardest and most insane things when he does it. It's just this, and he does it well when he does it.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, we've got React and Explode getting ready to fight Nightmare.
All right, now let's see how that goes for them.
Let's see, React's on himself 5 E-tanks, so he'll be very safe.
Yeah. So thinking about. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So that room that Scotty just left, that is the room that makes Japanese version a little bit slower in game time than English. That little puffer that he froze with that diffusion missile is actually in the next hole over to the left. So it takes a little bit longer for your diffusion missile to do something against them.
Alright, looks like Explode and React both facing off against Nightmare. Explode having a slightly better phase 1 and 2 here, so gain back a little bit of time there, and React seem to have a bit of trouble getting Nightmare to stop moving as well, since he's got him flying a little bit too wide. Oh! There we go. The tricky thing about Nightmare is that Nightmare's movement in this phase, it's either following you or it's following an invisible dot. And you can't, unless you can tell which one it's following, it can be a little bit hard to dodge it or to get to line up the way you want. So this is definitely one of those fights that you just have to practice a lot. There's no particularly good way of explaining it to someone without just giving the controller and saying, "Here, try it." Alright, Revenge with Zero Beam is heading into Nightmare as well. So hopefully he'll have a good fight. Oh, he's trying to get that 5th energy tank as well. Playing it safe. Alright, so now some things to watch. How is Revenge going to handle Phase 2 and Phase 3 of Nightmare? And how are React and Exploud going to deal with the dangers of underwater Sector 4? Scotty, meanwhile, about to face off against the Xbox here. You remember that boss that he killed in a very odd way earlier? Well, it's back. And this time, it's in electrified water with a low ceiling, so... Yep, he's doing this strat where he first just takes a pseudo screw into its hitbox, and then just takes it from there. Oh gosh, Scotty having a little bit of trouble though, getting knocked around a lot. He finishes off the Xbox, but his health is pretty low. The Wave Core does a lot of damage here, so... Oh gosh. Scotty... It's making me a little bit nervous here. I mean, I don't doubt Scotty's abilities, but... This is still a bit dicey. Revenge, meanwhile, finishes off Nightmare, now has Gravity Suit everyone. Oh no! Oh, Scotty!
Oh my.
Oh no! Oh, Scotty took the safety save. Okay. So he did take that safety save. That's... Apparently, Scotty's having trouble with his controller. Apparently, it's locked onto left. He can't stop running left. That's unfortunate. React and Explode actually, though, managing to make it through Underwater Sector 4, taking a couple of E-tanks of damage, but still in pretty good shape. Both about to go grab the diffusion missiles. The final missile power-up, which makes doubles on cores very, very difficult at this point. And also marks the last time we'll be visiting a data room. Oh my goodness. Scotty. This is very... Oh! I think he may have just unplugged his controller. Okay, looks like his control is back. Oh gosh, so Scotty is continuing his run, but this is a very, very dramatic time loss. At this point, Exploud is going to be far enough ahead that unless Exploud takes a death as well, Scotty is not looking to be in good shape to make a comeback from this.
Yep, anything is possible. Just also remember that English version is a bit more glitchy and more prone to be able to get a soft lock.
That's very true. I mean, I'm not saying Scotty's completely out. I'm just saying that it's going to take something unexpected, something definitely unexpected in order to...
I mean, because that does set him back a good 20 minutes.
Yeah. You know, React versus Revenge. React, I think, is at this point a couple of minutes ahead of Revenge. Revenge is still chugging forward, and there's still plenty of bosses left for React to fight. So,
yep. So back on the top of these buffers, like, so the one nice benefit of those frozen missiles that don't kill enemies, they also don't make puffers puff.
oh, that's a good point. You know, I don't think that ever occurred to me. I'll have to keep that in mind more often.
Oh yeah, that it makes these last few rooms before you trigger the box fight a little bit more consistent. I mean, you only need 15 missiles for box. Not 15, but 12 missiles for box 2, I think. And then you have 40 to start with. So, and then since it is a Beam Core X, you have to wait for it to open its eye anyway. So that's plenty of time to get Green X.
Very true. Alright, speaking of the Xbox, React on its way back up to fight Xbox now, showing off the freezing of the puffers, and Exploud right behind. So I think we're probably going to see React go for I guess a more traditional strat here. Oh, unfortunately seems he got knocked off at the top there, landing in the electrified water.
Yeah, and then another thing about this fight, compared to the first one, is you actually do have to move, not because of the missiles, but because Box 2 actually jumps high enough this time to knock you off.
Yeah, which is why you see them take move a couple of, I guess, monkey bars to the right and then back to the left. Otherwise, if they stayed put, Box would knock them off.
Okay, clean fight from Exploud. He does have to be a little bit careful. Nice fight from React.
Alright, looks like Exploud's going to set up for the sweet spot here, and a little bit too far to the left.
Still a vertical sweet spot, so he's able to it was snap into place, be able to be collected immediately. Scotty trying to clip again, and changing his mind. He just got that position just a little bit too far off, so it wasn't going to be possible.
And Scotty in his way for a rematch with Notori. Exploud and React about to party in the Metroid sector here.
That clip that Scotty did, if you can do it without the pause buffer, it'd probably save a couple seconds. So it's going to save more on in-game time type stuff, but you'd have to be able to do it unbuffered to make it save real time.
Our Revenge facing off against Xbox here. Looking like he's opting to try to take it a little bit safer, get fewer shots in to make sure he doesn't get knocked off by Box. Having a little bit of trouble hitting it.
Yeah, just because of how the hitbox is shaped. The hitbox for the sides that's protecting it, it goes a good 5-6 pixels above the hitbox that does damage to Xbox. So you don't have that big of a window on getting that diagonal in.
Oh yeah, not at all. And it's a little bit more harrowing just because if you're in the right position to hit that weak spot, you're close enough to get hit by the jump. So you have to shoot fast and then move. Alright, so Explode and React now making their way back through the back end of Sector 1 here, on the way to fight the shouty space lizard.
So that's the warning to you, headphone users.
Yes, absolutely.
But some people really love that scream. It just brings a jolt of energy to their lives.
It's definitely a very energetic moment. A lot of folks find it a very relatable sound. Ridley is vocalizing emotions that they themselves cannot. But here we are, React making it to the final eye door.
With no beams. Being ready to go before he's even ready to shoot.
Here we go. So we're gonna see React here try to get diagonal charge shots through Ridley because the plasma beam does damage per frame that's inside Ridley's hitbox, and Ridley's hitbox is a square, so mathematics, diagonals, and then followed up with a quick missile to maximize damage.
Yep, and then also have to avoid shooting the tail. Tail blocks all your shots, unfortunately. React and Explode doing two very different ideologies on handling Ridley. Some people like to stay in one corner to kind of make it kind of consistent, slash just give Ridley a lot less chance to hit you. And then Explode was kind of running around trying to maximize, trying to get that extra diagonal time. And sometimes it's just better to do an upshot or a jump into horizontal shot on Ridley, because you basically want to be releasing your beam as soon as it's ready to go. Anytime that you're just holding it instead of shooting is also time lost.
That's right, but it's difficult because you get out of position, Ridley can grab you, and that's one of the most damaging things Ridley can do. So it's just a matter of knowing what your options are and knowing how to react to whatever it is Ridley is doing at the time.
Depends on how risky you want to go.
Yeah, because Ridley, despite not really seeming to do too much, can very easily kill you. We've actually had, I think, at least one death this tournament to Ridley.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty close race towards the end still.
Most definitely.
So this is still pretty exciting to watch, and watching him try to play some catch up. I mean, he's still a good 15 minutes behind, but after recovering from that death. But
he's playing on. More power to him. A lot of folks would just stop, but he's continuing.
Yep, it's just another reminder of how dangerous this game can be, especially once you're trying to optimize things at the right levels. Because it's usually not worth it to get more than 4 E-tanks. They start to become quite more costly other than those 4.
Yeah, I think in fact you'll see most folks opt for 3, 4 if you're concerned. But the 4th tank is not terribly costly, which is why you'll still see runners with very fast times like Scotty still grab it.
Yeah, Scotty still needs it because of box.
Yeah. Revenge now facing off against Ridley. Finishing it off. Important to note, the tail still is oh, you saw it right there. The tail is still active. So it's very possible to actually have Ridley exploding and die by running into his tail, so remain always vigilant.
Stay clear till you see that core. Start moving. Really nice fight. We're now just dealing with the final text sequence of the game for React and Explode. Pretty long series of text.
The longest, in fact. This is the longest sequence of text boxes in the entire game.
In the entire Metroid universe.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, that's actually right. I guess unless you want to start reading all the lore in the Prime data log from start to finish. With Revenge now on his way to the final text boss, React and Exploud working their way through the wall of text. And then they will soon be on their way to the final Sax encounter. The whole game's been building up to this. You knew it was coming. But even in our super powered up state, Samus is still very much in danger in dealing with the Sax. We have a good quick kill strat for it. We're going to see them both go for, but we'll have to see if they can keep the Sax immobilized.
Yep, and in pretty tight window. You have like 5 or 6 frames or so, something like that. You can let Sax move a tiny bit and be fine, but it's just one of those things where you have to start thinking about a group of actions rather than each individual input.
Alright, Scotty about to come back to, heading on his way back to the point where everything ended before. Hopefully you'll fare better. And Revenge just about to enter the Resident Sleeper dialogue.
I'm not sure if Exploud accidentally had a hello ball going through the door and he just jumped through the door, or if he actually tried the space boost from that far back.
Oh, but Exploud opting for a safety save, which is definitely a wise move at this point.
Then I'm not sure if he's paying attention to chat or anything like that to know that Scotty had died. I don't see any mention of it on the race channel.
It could just be that he has his eye on chat, maybe. I know I do that sometimes.
Yeah. Yep, so this is good spot. Oh no, he didn't get that missile off. It happens. It's a... oh.
It's fine. I think he's probably going to try to
reset it
on
up.
the ground level, yeah.
Which is fine.
Oh gosh, he's having trouble getting it refrozen in time. I think he must have...
Yeah, he says he's having some confidence issues, but he made it through.
Yeah, but he's gotta be careful, though.
Okay, looks like Explode dropped it as well. Yes, like, whenever the fight goes well, it's 0% scary, but if something goes slightly wrong, it becomes a pretty scary fight pretty fast.
Yeah, the Sax does a lot of... everything in this fight does a lot of damage. The Sax touching you does a lot of damage, the Sax shooting you does a lot of damage.
Yep,
even
and
the core does a lot of damage.
Yep, and then they're at a... and then right now, Sax gave him quite the beating, so they really don't want to try to go for doubles on this one. Because if you shoot a little bit too early, you'll get hit by the beam, which does over 100 damage.
Yeah. Thankfully, the screw attack makes you invulnerable both to touching the core and also the beam. But you can't shoot missiles while you're in a somersault. So Exploud and React both making it through. A little bit touch and go.
That was a nice revenge fight for Scotty on Xbox.
I think he's setting up for sweet spot and gets it.
There we go. Apparently we had an escape sequence activated.
Oh, less than 3 minutes till fateful encounter with SR-388. Good thing they had their ship parked in the dock right where they found it, right?
It's okay. Nintendo remakes that planet later on. Oh no!
Oops.
Unfortunate.
Alright, but needless to say, the ship is not here. Instead, we have a large friend. A very large, screaming friend. So much like Sax, there is a quick kill strat here. I'm expecting to see both React and Exploud go for it.
For the diagonal strat.
Yeah. Because the Omega will do 100 damage per swipe, so you still don't want to be getting sloppy here.
And if you're unfortunate, you can see double or triple swipes.
Yeah, those are always... Looks like it's set up. Ooh.
So it's a fairly similar fight to Ridley in a way, whereas if you keep out damaging them, you'll knock them out of whatever attack they're trying to do, and do that, and then keep them in a stun lock the entire time. And GG from React.
Exploud looks like he lost control of the Omega here. He still should be okay, even with 299. Just has to do enough damage here. Ooh.
And he is going to be fine.
Alright, and Revenge, meanwhile, had to fight the Sex on the ground as well, but made it through with a nice health buffer here. So here, even if he gets hit by 1 or 2 ice beams, he should be fine. But he's just taking it safe, fighting the Corex on the ground. 6 missiles, and it'll be good to go. Oh! Just like that. And with that, Exploud and React are our 2 race winners here on this doubleheader race. Revenge finishing up here shortly, also sending the station crashing down into SR-388, just having to face off against the Omega. Scotty making very good time after his untimely demise, about to face off against Ridley here shortly.
Yeah, another running that likes to powerbomb Ridley's eye. So proud of Scotty right now. Alright, so we'll watch Revenge get his... oh no, his Wind Spark. What I was going to say is we'll watch him see if he can get that quick kill. It is fairly tight to get into that right position, and you can't be too slack in your mashing either.
Yeah. You have to get that first shot, get out, not too far out though, and then get right back into position. And if you don't run out far enough, that swipe actually hits a little bit further than you think it does. So
yeah. Ridley's exploding your ears. Oh no. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome our 2 winners of the races, ExploudYourEar and Dan Reacts. How you guys feeling?
Good, I guess. I don't know.
Did you have Twitch chat open or the stream open, Exploud?
Nothing. I had nothing open.
Yeah, Scotty did some crazy strats and died to Xbox. Were you realistically thinking this was how confident did you feel about your match today? And then you also changed controllers for this tournament.
Yeah, like
today. Oh my, oh my, that is a massive change. So you were on a GameCube controller beforehand, and you switched to an SP. Yeah. I mean, while I would say an SP feels a lot better anyways, but just switching for something that you were doing for years over to an SP, probably a lot harder than you would think.
Yeah, I'm surprised I'm 1 minute and 46 seconds from my TA PB, so with a switch of controllers somehow, I don't know.
Yeah. Yep, and then how'd you feel about your run, Dan?
I thought it was like super hit or miss. Like I executed some things really good, and other things were like really bad. Just like Saris was bad, Ridley was bad, and my SAX was bad. I thought my sector movement was pretty good though. I was like 45 seconds or so behind my PB I got earlier today, so. That's
pretty good. That's pretty good. Oh. Yes, like it's definitely one of those things like, it's like even once you hit sub 50, you'll find that you complete things ultra cleaning, and some random thing just goes really bad. The thing that's more important to learn is like knowing how to recover. It's like your hand just automatically do some kind of backup plan without you thinking about it.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
Anything you guys gonna focus on your practicing or runs leading up to your next race?
I think for me, it's pretty much 100% just boss fight execution and doubling cores, because I'm not consistent at doubling. It's because I haven't really practiced it too much. I think if I can get that down, I could knock my time down a lot. It's really boss fights. I feel like my sector movement's usually pretty good.
Yeah, and then sector movements, they can always be a lot tighter, but you just have to pick your battles on which ones need more work. And then I can see the boss fights. There's a lot of small things that could have happened, but
I was happy with my box. I golded that. That was like the best box fight I've ever had.
yeah, that was a really clean fight that you had on box 1.
Pretty good too. Sometimes I really mess those up, so I was happy with that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for me, it would be to play more with JB ASP, obviously. But
yeah,
I got a lot of doubles today. I don't know why.
It's just one of those things that you don't really think about. It just happens. You just kind of keep doing runs. Sometimes taking a break and run Shovel Knight and coming back makes you instantly better at Fusion.
Yeah, I'm not coming back to Shovel Knight anytime soon, so I'm done with the trolling of Shovel Knight. I'm fine. I'm gonna focus on Fusion, I think. Even though Fusion can be trolly, but I don't know. I accept it way easier on Fusion than on Shovel Knight. Maybe because I have more experience on Shovel Knight. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I know you have the ability to drastically drop your time in this game as well. Same thing with React.
I'm pretty sure I'm playing the loser of Pole's more crunchy, so either way, that's gonna be difficult for sure.
Alright, cool. So I'll see you next week then. No, I kid. We'll see what happens. I'm practicing pretty hard for that race.
Alright, and now let's see what crazy things Scotty's gonna show us for Sax. Pretty good fight. Phase 1. Alright, so he's setting it for the doubles. Got that first one. Second one.
Okay,
triple, and that was pretty much the sweet spot right there.
Wow, yeah, that was a pretty solid Sax fight there.
I wonder if we'll see some special thing called the Omega Pogo.
Pogo, you say? Maybe we will.
And hint, Scotty, please listen. Please welcome TG Revenge. GG. Let's see that you tied your PB.
Yeah, by in-game time. Real time was about 20 or 30 seconds down, but, you know.
Yeah, being less than a minute RTA is always really nice. Being less than a minute off.
when I almost lost a run in Sector 6, and like after I got by those 2 blue X scores, like I was dry eating. Like it was so freaking close to being a wipe.
It's like a lot of the runners were playing pretty close to death.
Yeah, I didn't watch the stream, so I'm definitely gonna go back, just like the one before, and see, you know, what happened. How close I was to winning or losing at any time.
Okay, and then Scotty's finishing up. We've also joined by the crazy Strat Master.
Hello.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody do a damage boost strat on box 1 before.
It's a really nice strat.
Yeah, because I would actually thought about, it's like, huh, I wonder if that'd be worthwhile in the end.
Yeah, that'll save time even if you do get the second E-Tank.
I think you need the second E-Tank.
Yeah, you do. Well, you don't technically. There's a way to avoid getting hit twice on each cycle, but it's not extremely consistent.
But yeah, it's only 3 seconds for that extra E-Tank. And then
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you saved like 4 or 5 on the walk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing Rossi is claiming credit for your strat?
Nah, I'm not giving it to him.
I see those quotations.
It is not my strat, because it is Critty 7's strat.
Oh.
The man, the myth, the legend. He said it would be faster to go inside box and kill him from the inside, and everyone laughed at him.
I mean, it would definitely be a lot. I mean, I could definitely see it. It's like, not sure how I'd survive this one then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was something I thought would be possible, but never bothered trying it.
Yeah, I think it was just that nobody put forth the effort to make it viable.
Yeah, because it looks like what you do, a double down and then 3 wall and iframes.
Mm-hmm.
And do it twice.
Yeah.
So, not going to try that for tomorrow. It's not going to work out in my favor.
It takes a bit of practice, to be honest.
Oh yeah, because I've got to get my flashcard going again with my practice hacking on it. Oh, I see a picture from Ross who's like a picture proof of you give him credit.
Nope, that's for easy. That's a completely different strat.
Oh, okay.
For easy, you run right. You just run into him and just missile him. That's the strat that Ross came up with, not the one that I have.
The only time we're ever seeing easy tournament is if we're going to do 1% easy. I'll allow easy if people want to have a 1% tournament.
I have no idea what people do for easy. I've only seen Ross ever do easy, and it was any percent, not 1%.
Sad day.
Yeah.
Okay, that looks like this is everything that we have going on Speed Gaming Channel until for another hour. We'll see Sonic Adventure 2 battle coming up. Going on right now, we're in the middle of matches for Super Mario Bros. 3 Randomizer as well as Diddy Kong Racing. SMB3R is on Speed Gaming 2. DKR is on Speed Gaming 3. There's also another randomizer, Mario Bros. Randomizer match going on 1. Should be wrapping up pretty soon. As far as Fusion, we've got a 3 p.m. match tomorrow, as well as another doubleheader at the same start time as this match tonight. So, you've all been great. And that's all I've got. Runners, Crunchy.
That's all I've
Thanks for
got.
the commentary and everything.
No, it's fun. We wouldn't have been able to. We can't do commentary without you guys putting on some good runs for us. So thank you.
All right, come back in an hour for Sonic.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night.